This is Kerem Baran with Solar Academy. I have with me today Spencer Harrison of NeoCharge. Spencer, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Karim.
Yeah, great. Well, I recently met Spencer and had a chance to hear briefly his story and want to share it with our audience. Spencer, you were telling me that you started NeoCharge while you were in college at UC Santa Cruz, it was, I believe, right? Or
Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
oh,
Yep.
Cal Poly, yeah, SLO in SLO, and great. And you said it came out of a accelerator or incubator program. And can you tell us how, like, the first inspiration moment, what came through? Like, how did the idea pop up in your head?
Or great question, and thanks for having me on. Yeah, so it started about 4.5 years ago. Really, we found kind of two main issues when we started, and that was all around charging your electric car at home. For renters, it's hard to install charging when you don't own your home and you can't always get that permission from your landlord.
Right.
And then for homeowners, installing that 240-volt outlet can get really expensive. If the electrician comes in and has to upgrade your electrical panel, gets really expensive, and it's a huge pain for a lot of people. And people don't want to have to pay $3,000 if they don't want to. So that was really the reason why we started. And both my co-founder and I have technical backgrounds. We're like, okay, let's figure out a way to make this easier. So that's where it all started.
Got it. And so can you tell us a little bit about the product? Essentially what it does, how it works, how it's priced?
Definitely. Yeah. So the product we created is called the Smart Splitter. It's basically a 240-volt power strip. You could think of it that way. It's a plug and play type product, so you actually don't need an electrician. It just plugs in directly to a 240-volt outlet, like, for example, a dryer outlet. So if you have a dryer outlet in your garage, you could plug it in, plug in your EV charger to one side and your dryer on one side, and share that circuit safely without needing, an additional circuit in your home. So that's one use case with the dryer and an EV charger, or if you have
without needing another electrical panel either, I guess.
exactly. So using your existing electrical panel, which, at the end of the day, for us to be able to hit our electrification goals is going to be crucial to have some sort of solutions or ways around these panel upgrades because they're expensive. So so yeah, one use case would be dryer and EV charger. The other use case is utilizing two EV chargers on one circuit without having to, rewire or get that panel upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what's the average cost for a typical panel upgrade and an EV charger installation? You said about $3,000.
Yeah.
Is that combined for the two, or is it just for one? Or
yeah.
and how
So
much is your product?
definitely. So yeah, I mean, it's really across the board in terms of how much panel upgrades really can be. There's a lot of factors at hand. We've actually heard as high as around $45,000, which we were just mind blown. That's not everyone, that's
Sure.
very, it's not typical.
It's a high
Typically, yeah, typically it's going to be between, 1,500 to 3K. For us on average, our customers actually save around $2,000. So that's a cool stat to know. In terms of what was the other question? The other question was how much
EV charger installation
EV charger. Yeah. So normally, that panel upgrade that I just spoke about kind of includes including that additional circuit. That's usually what it would cost. And then, if you're getting an EV charger on top of that, usually it's going to be around another $500, $600, depending on which charger you get. And a lot of people nowadays are actually just
and then you need
the
extra cables and conduits and to position it in somewhere in the garage. Probably there's some extra cost for that as well, right?
Yeah. So usually, let's just call it $2,500 for the installation, the outlet, and the panel upgrade, and then an additional probably $500 for the charger. So normally it's going to be around $3,000. But like I said, a lot of people are actually just using that charger that's in the back of their car that can actually plug into the 120-volt outlet or the 240 for faster charging.
Got it. And your product is priced at what price point?
Yeah, so we're at right now around 450. We kind of provide discounts at certain times. So usually around 450 for the customer, and you can see it as low as probably $400.
And tell us a little bit about the story of the startup. When did you guys started? When did you get your first funding? Or first revenue? Where are
Yeah.
you in your journey, and what's next? What's coming up? What are the challenges?
Yeah.
How can the world help you? Let's also talk about that.
Yeah. That's a lot of things at one. It's a rigged question, but
Yeah.
let's see. So yeah, we started about 4.5 years ago. It was actually a senior project in college.
Yeah.
That it was a year-long senior project. Like, all right, let's figure out some challenges that we can all tackle. And you have 1 year to create a business plan and try to figure some of these things out. So for us, that's where it started. Next, we went into an accelerator program, which helped really helped us evolve. Obviously, it was still just the beginning then. And our initial focus when we started is, hey, how can we focus on the product experience, focus on the customer first? So
Right.
we put fundraising aside. We're like, let's focus on the product. We can build product. We can get some initial product out there and just start testing it and see how that goes. And that was, a journey of building that product, the actual product, and even just getting it in a few EV drivers' hands.
What were the critical features and attributes of that product that were the challenges, or what's the secret? Not the secret sauce, but what's the aha about the product? Like what makes it work?
Yeah, I mean, so actually, it's funny when we started. We sent out some different products to customers kind of to do some initial testing, and none of them actually worked the first time around. All of them had some sort of issue with them, like it just didn't even charge. So there are kind of some more like technical things built within the box that we focused on, but probably one of the biggest things really is building it in a way that can actually get safety certified. Because without that safety certification, it's like really getting this out on a mass scale is going to be really challenging. Utility companies won't work with you, which we have a lot of utility partnerships. So that's really a key piece of it. And then also the way that you're actually building in safety within the device. That's something that we've really focused on is, okay, what happens in this case, how do we make sure that it always is going to provide the safest solution for the customer.
So you got a UL certification or something similar?
Exactly. Yep.
You got the UL, got it. And then so that was the early days, and then you got the product to work, and the product is I guess it got some smart logic in it, so it knows how to charge even two cars not simultaneously, but I guess one after the other, and how to run the washer dryer with the car charging also plugged in at the same time. Those are, I guess, some of the unique aspects of this simple maybe
the smart splitter.
Yes.
And one, just to explain a little bit of how it works for some people that might be wondering. So really the way it's built is there's a primary side and a secondary side. So you would plug your dryer into the primary, and that would get priority over, let's say, the EV charger. It'll just pause the EV charger when it's running. So that's kind of, we call it smart switching.
Or can you do vice versa too? Well, I guess you wouldn't start. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But the way that we have it built, it makes sure that you're not going to go over what the outlet in your wall is rated for. So for example, if you have two electric cars, you could actually run them both at the same time on our device without like tripping the breaker. You'd run it at half power. So both of them can run at the same time at half power, which there's no other devices on the market right now that you can do that with.
Got it. And so when was first revenue? When was and how have things been going since? And what's your go-to-market approach right now? And
so it's a great day, the day that we actually sold kind of the first 10. And that was actually the way we got the word out there. Was we just reached out on some different Facebook groups and tried to understand, hey, what do you guys think about this? Just to see if someone would buy it. We weren't even able to make them yet. We were just kind of testing some things out, and we got some sales that day, and we were just like, okay, wow, like people actually need this, that's a huge kind of aha moment when you really see that people are willing to pay for something that you are making or are about to make. And sometimes you just got to test that out. You need to see if people are going to want to pay for it and try to run a small test of like, will one person pay for it? And if one person will pay for it, there are probably other people out there. So since then, we got it safety certified. That's been great. We've kind of really started working with a lot of different utility companies, and we have rebates across kind of the US. And our sales have significantly grown. We got on Amazon earlier this year, which has been seen some massive growth. I think we've probably, since we launched, our revenues on Amazon have kind of increased by 4 times. So it's really, and just in, about 6 months. So it's pretty incredible to see what that can do, what happens when you start getting the reviews, and it just starts kind of piling on and just growing from there.
And you also, are selling this direct on your website, on Amazon, through utilities. How about through any other channel partners or any other outlets?
Yeah, outlets. It's a good pun. Yeah. So right now, mainly utilities, our website and Amazon. We're looking into other channels. We have other sorts of partnerships with like resellers and distributors.
Right.
And right now we are looking into a few different partnerships. We have discussed with some solar companies too. I know probably there are some people in your audience that are in solar. So that is something we have explored a bit too. And right now we're looking into some other kind of big box stores as well.
And solar equipment distributors, perhaps. And where's your manufacturing, by the way? Is that in the state or overseas or outside of the state?
Yeah, it's actually in California.
Okay, great. And then in terms of financing, you're doing a hardware type product, so it does require some working capital to finance your growth. I assume it's not like a pure software technology layer play, but I do think you have that layer as well on your product roadmap. So can you talk a little bit about like what that future vision looks like, and are you raising capital? Are you looking to raise capital right now? Are you where you are in the finance state, I guess?
Definitely. Yeah, so we've raised a few smaller rounds, kind of angel investors, micro VCs, and we won a few grants on the fundraising side. And right now we're just finishing up a round that will be closed probably really shortly here, just with some of the interest and growth that we've seen. In terms of where we're headed next, and we are open to discussing with investors as well. But in terms of what's next, so we've seen an evolution. I mean, we have, lots of customers throughout North America, and for us, we're always customer centric. Hey, what do the EV drivers need? What do our customers need? Where are things going? Where are things headed? And for us, part of that really came down to, hey, this experience around EV charging can be pretty different between different types of electric cars in terms of the apps that they get, the tracking, the kind of optimization they can actually have with that car. So for us, we're building a platform that can integrate directly with the car. So actually you don't need the smart splitter, which is something we're really keen on, because not everyone can use a smart splitter. But people that do save a lot of money, we're thinking about a little bit of a wider net here. And ultimately, it helps you track your charging, view different types of devices, like multiple EVs in one dashboard. So if you have like a Rivian and a Tesla, you can actually see it in one dashboard. And then we also help optimize that charge to help you save money and reduce your carbon emissions.
Right. Got it. And you can do all of that. And you say, I guess then you don't need the smart splitters, smart piece which is hardware only with no software layer, without any dashboard, essentially, because you're shifting that functionality to a software layer that can be used by the homeowners and consumers.
Yeah, there is definitely some intelligence that you can kind of interweave between the two. We are focused on the EVs to start, and adding on, the smart splitter and other sorts of things that people can modularly see inside of this dashboard. But ultimately, we want to give kind of a whole home view, and also an easy way to just track that energy usage across different devices.
Got it. What else can we talk about? What question did I ask that you might not have yet answered, or what other things that come up in your mind that we should share with the audience?
I mean, the first thing that came to my mind is just, I mean, for us, it could be like about our journey as just entrepreneurs. Like, what has it been like starting a company? You know, some people are interested in hearing about that, or
how big
even just,
big is your team right now, and
yeah.
who are you recruiting?
Yeah, so right now we're still a pretty lean team. We have about 13 people total on the team that are essentially like full-time equivalents.
Right.
And yeah, we're continuing to grow more
You're all
on the
near
software side.
San Luis Obispo, I assume, or
Kind of all over the place.
California?
Probably about half in San Luis Obispo, where we're headquartered, and then the other portion would be just remote in different places, like software developers. So
yeah,
pretty flexible on some of the work from home type of stuff as well.
Yeah, got it. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's an interesting story when we were still about like right after being able to get that UL safety certification, you know, right when you think it like things are going to be kind of picking up for us, our co-founder and CEO got deported to India. And that was a crazy series of events. 1 week later, I broke my leg, and it was like, you know, you feel like everything is just kind of pushing against you, and you're like, what are we going to do? And this was, you know, 3 or 4 months before COVID.
Wow. Yeah.
Figure out, hey, how can we get him back from India? And ultimately everything just kind of fell into place where he was able to get back because one of our advisors helped him in through the admissions at our school. He got back, and then we eventually were able to sponsor him, which was also a process in itself. But he got back like just a few weeks before COVID really, like, you know, I think it was in February 2020. And so, yeah, it was pretty intense, but just, I think it goes to show, it's like when you really want to get something done and you set your mind to it, like you can figure it out. And that was one of those turning points for us where we're like, hey, if we can get through this, like we'll figure out a way to get through the other biggest challenges that we might face. And they're gonna continue to come up always. Those things will come up. It's something will blindside you, and you got to have thick skin really and be ready to adapt as like an entrepreneur, even in this industry in general, because things are moving so quickly.
Agreed. Great. Well, Spencer, thank you very much for sharing your story and sharing more details about NeoCharge. And we'll hopefully continue this in the upcoming months, years, and as you guys grow and
definitely.
serve the market.
Yeah, thank you for the great questions. Thanks for having me on, and happy to come on another time as we progress and move forward here. So I'm excited.
Great. Thank you.